Hello, today we're looking at ordinary junk and ranking them based on their junk journal value. You might have seen this tier format on YouTube in other contexts, often related to gaming. You could be ranking different characters or players or equipment, but in this case, if you wanted to get nerdy, we'll be looking at trash and seeing what has the highest value in our inventory. So let's get started. I got a bunch of different samples of things over here that I'll pull over for the rankings. Let's see what I grabbed first. Okay, so this is a bit of envelope. We see lots of projects where we're using envelopes. Envelopes are very versatile. However, you do often want to cover up the envelope and not leave it blank, especially if it's got different written materials on it or some other, blemishes that you want to deal with. So I would say let's start off safe and put this in the B category. I know that we use a lot of it, but we also have a lot of it, and we don't keep, I don't keep all of my envelopes. I keep some of them, but some of them end up going into recycling because I don't really need to save every single one. Let's see what else we have here. All right. This is a piece of napkin. So sometimes, if I go to parties, somebody might be having like a decorative napkin to fit the theme. So these are fun to use, but not super common in my world. I mean, when you buy them, you got to buy a pack of 50 or what have you. So you might see them one off. So I would put them in C tier just because I don't see a whole lot of them. Nor do you want to have 50 of one, but there's just not as many clean, unused ones around with different fun patterns to use. Let's see here. What do we have here? This is a piece of a glassine envelope. So my thought was, how did I get this? I got this one because it was holding my plasticware from takeout. And so I think that glassine bags are really versatile and fun to work with, and don't have a lot of bad things to say about it. It's a built-in pocket. I think that whenever I manage to get one that's not spoiled, I will keep those. So those are pretty handy to stamp on and color up or fully cover. All right. What else do we have here? Similar to the napkin, this is a piece of tissue that was used to pack my a purchase that I made. And I think that it is more common to get something like this. And when you do, it tends to be a really large piece. So you could use it pretty similarly to the napkin, but you tend to get a larger size that is more versatile when these do come around. And so I might put this in the B tier. All right. What else do we have? This is a piece of paper, a piece out of a planner. So an expired planner that I hadn't been from past years that I'm no longer using. If you haven't fully filled them up, you can have pages that could be used blank as a page on its own. So I'm putting this in the A tier because it's basically a different kind of paper that you can put straight into your journal without much effort. And you when you're done with those planners, you have the whole book and then likely have multiple pages to take out of there straight away. And these renew annually. All right. Here is a piece of a linen. So this was like a bed sheet. And the thing that's great about bed sheets are that they are very large. You could use bed sheets for all sorts of things. You could use them to cover your journals. You can rip off strips to make closures for your journals or some other tassel-y decorations, stuff like that, make ruffles. So you get a lot of material when you get them, but um, don't come across them very often. So in your house, so it's not as versatile. When I bought um, linens, I wasn't looking for their junk journal possibility at the time. I might be thinking differently when I'm making future purchases, but they're going to be used for many years before they get to the point where it's time to make them into junk journal material. So I'm going to make this C, just because it's not that, just not as versatile as a lot of other things that we might be using. All right, so this came from a chocolate wrapper. I managed to get one that was really got a shiny bit to it. I don't use a lot of candy wrappers and like that kind of thing because a lot of them are not paper, and I just don't really enjoy using them. And you get many things that are like touching the food, which I don't really want to use. But sometimes I'll come across a nice fun piece like this where you've got nice colors and a nice pattern. And I'm going to put this in the C tier just because I get a lot, I go through a lot of candy. I go through a lot of chocolate. But most of those wrappers have no interest, no value to me as a junk journaler, but occasionally they're really nice and I keep them, but most of them get thrown out. All right, what else do we have here? This is a piece of a pseudocode page. So, if you've got books of word searches or crosswords or other kinds of, oh no, this is a logic puzzle, but same thing. Pseudocode is basically logic puzzles with numbers, but these could be used directly as a sheet in your junk journal on its own. So I'm going to put it up here as very versatile, because it could be a page, it could be a decoration, it could, be attached to something else, but very versatile and fun to use. All right, let's see. Sometimes we get price tags that are cute like this. I would say that I have a lot of price tags that I still throw out. I don't, if you get clothing tags, that kind of thing. A lot of them are plain rectangle shape, not particularly inspiring, and then you got stuff that you might want to be covering up front and back. But occasionally something fun comes along. So I would say that, tags like this are overall fun, as long as, and since so many come through, you're likely to find some that are nice and usable like this. So we'll put this in B tier. I've got a clear plastic bag here. So this could be used as some sort of shaker where you put something in here that could move around, close it up, decorate the or cover the top. Put it into turn it into a window or something like that. I have a lot of plastic holding all sorts of things that I've purchased, but I don't use a whole lot of it in my junk journaling. So I'm thinking that this will go into the D tier just because it's really not that exciting. I'm not trying to hoard those. I've got way too many and not that interesting. And kind of similar to that, we also have this here, which is a piece of plastic, could be coming off of a window envelope or something like that. You can get or a page protector. These pieces could be put on top of something else to protect it or turn it into a pocket, but not as versatile as the quantity. There's way more supply coming into my house than demand for the plastic. Cardboard box. I think this was holding cookies. These are pretty handy. You could use these as a backing to something else to give it some stiffness. Some of the harder, thicker boxes could be used for the covers of junk journals. I don't love using the cardboard that much because I tend to have to cover it up, and for covers, they tend to be a bit on the flimsy side for me, and I tend to have to double up or something like that. So I'm going to put this in the B tier. Very handy, but I have lots of boxes and I don't need as much material as I am receiving on a regular basis. All right. I cut this off of a toilet paper roll. I know that some people make beautiful projects using the toilet paper rolls. And for my personal ranking, I don't actually like using these. I'm worried, I don't want to accidentally get something that might not be fully clean, It doesn't appeal to me. It's got a weird shape. It's not particularly sturdy, so I don't particularly enjoy using those. So I'm just going to put this in the F tier because there's a couple rare instances where I might grab some to use, but generally speaking, I don't have much use for toilet paper rolls in my junk journaling. All right. Now this is a piece of fake money from some game, probably Monopoly or something like that. I think that these are actually very not that uncommon. So if you have a game and that game is missing a couple pieces so that it's no longer playable, well, you may have a whole lot of junk journaling material in that remainder of that game that you could use when nobody else would be using it for play. So I think Monopoly money is really fun to use, and I think it's the sort of thing that I might hoard whenever I have the opportunity to get these. It's going to be either in the A tier or S tier for me, because whenever I see those, I'm going to keep them and I'm going to use them, and they are not that uncommon, at least in my household where we're losing lots of stuff. Coffee filter. So this is a piece of coffee filter, and I think that the way that people look at coffee filters varies based on how they make their coffee. So I don't actually use coffee filters for my coffee making. I got these from when I was on a trip, and so I'm thinking that for me, I'm not going to see them very often. I would imagine if somebody were using coffee filters, they wouldn't have many that they wouldn't want to be using, because if they're clean, they're ready for coffee usage. If they're not clean, then you've just made coffee with them, I suppose. That's one way to coffee dye something, but it doesn't sound very practical, and it would be kind of wasteful for somebody who's actually using these. Since I'm not using these, they're great for me when I come across them. So I just don't see them that often, but when I do, I will sneak a couple out of there. Raffle tickets. In the modern day, these are still in use, and while you might have a large quantity of them, it's fun to keep a couple, if you get one or two at an event. They can accumulate over time and be used in our journals. So I'm going to put this straight in the B tier. If I get one, I will use it. I don't have a whole lot of them, but they do come through occasionally, and I like using them. All right. Amazon packaging. This brown paper packaging, super thin, super versatile, can be used as a layer in a cluster. It could be used to create some contrast between a foreground piece and the background, or could be used as a background. Could be used as pages in a junk journal. I use this a lot for picking up paint. So I would say that it's plentiful and I use a lot of it. Not as much as I get, but I definitely use a lot. So I'm going to put this in the A tier. And very similarly, this is a brown paper bag. We don't use lots of brown paper bags because we use cloth bags mostly. So I do keep quite a number of these, and I find lots of uses for them. Very similar to the Amazon packaging, but it's a little stiffer, so it could potentially be used for a journal cover. So those are pretty handy. I'm going to put them in the A tier. All right, got a couple things that are clothing related. First, let's look at this little piece of a scrap from a might be a shirt or something like that with a buttonhole. So I would imagine as we are wearing through our clothes, there may be clothes that we don't need anymore, and these could be cut up and used in junk journals. The thing is kind of similar with the bed sheet. I don't buy clothes for the purpose of junk journaling. So I don't get a lot of this. If you get a whole shirt that you have a hole or it's no longer useful in some way, I mean, you got quite a bit of material, but it's just one pattern. So I'm just going to put this over here in the D tier. Not super useful for me to, it's not very sensible for me to be waiting for clothes to fall apart in order to use them in junk journaling. And I don't use fabric all that much since it adds some weight here. And then we've got this button. I think buttons are much easier to come by since lots of clothes have spare buttons. And these are really handy to put into dangles and other decorations. So they're pretty common, but not necessarily in all the colors we want. And they have some height to them. They have some dimension. So I don't like putting buttons in the middle of my journal. And buttons don't really make a page. So I'm going to put this in the D tier as well, just because they are not as versatile inside of a junk journal as some of these other things. Map. Now, I would have thought that right now maps are not that common. And yeah, I don't have a Rand McNally in my house with all of, 300 pages of maps, but it is still quite easy to pick up maps as a tourist to tourist zones. And whenever I have an opportunity to pick up a map that is of the of a matte material that could work in a junk journal, I pick them up. So I feel like I personally use these a lot. I think they're very versatile. Adds instant decoration, could be used as a page in a junk journal, easily turned into pockets and whatnot. And I tend to pick up all the maps that I have access to. And so I'm going to put this in the S tier because I think that I get a good amount and I try to use it all. All right. What else do we have? This is from I got a mailer that was basically like a magazine of different furniture you could buy. This is a very handy material. You can go through these to, or you can consider this like a piece of magazine. Could be used for collaging. Could be used, I use this particular booklet for gluing. So this is very versatile, has a lot of uses, and whenever one of these comes in, it's worth it to me to have a look and see if there's something that I can use from it, or if I could use it just for gluing things down. So I'm going to put this in the A tier. This is a packing slip, and this is actually a sticker. So I have the sticker itself and the sticker release paper. As a combination, this is really fun. It is a sticker that you can use, just need to decorate the packing slip itself, but could easily be, collaged on top of or painted on. So I have a lot of these, and it is a little effort because, it tends to have things that aren't particularly appealing on it. So you've got to, I want to cover the whole thing. So I'm going to put this in the B tier. Nice to have, don't reach for it very often. Similar to that, this is the sticker release paper itself without the sticker on it. I use this to put down some clear tape and then add alcohol ink to turn it into aged looking tape. Or I could use this to hold washi tape or just be like a temporary place to hold stickers. It's a nice slick surface that things don't stick to, so there are some things that I could use this to kind of protect my surface. So I'm going to put this in C tier. It's not quite it. It's basically the sticker release paper after removing the sticker, so it's slightly less versatile than the sticker itself, but still good to have a little some of that around. All right, jigsaw puzzle piece. So I don't know about you, but it is not that uncommon for our family to lose a puzzle piece or two. So after we put together the puzzle, it's quite possible that you know, I lose a puzzle piece after the first or second time around. So the rest of the puzzle may not hold much of an appeal to anybody after losing a piece. So it is fairly easy for me to get a hold of a lot of jigsaw pieces. The issue though is, like the button, it's got some dimension on here. I'm not going to shove these into my journal. It's nice to use to make dangles, other kinds of decorations, but I don't see myself using a whole lot of these. Having some of these are fun, but really not that common usage for me, so I'm going to put it next to this button in the D tier. All right. So this is a piece from my 365 calendar. So my thought is, you know, calendars turn over once a year. Every year I have an opportunity to purchase some calendars that are really beautiful and aesthetically relevant to my junk journaling, and this year was no exception. So this came out of a Impressionism calendar, so I've got a lot, you know, many pictures to use. I think that these are really versatile. They're really cheap. I like hanging on to the calendars year after year as I use them, and being able to go back and pull some pages out of there to use mainly as focal points. So I'm going to put this in the S tier because I have the opportunity now, like unlike the clothes or the bedspread, I can make a deliberate purchase on an annual basis, enjoy it through the course of the year, and instead of throwing it out, once I'm done, I can use them in my junk journals. This is a piece of packaging. I think it was holding like some of my jewelry making supplies. Similar to this one, you know, I tend to have to cover it up. You know, they're often not a particularly pretty pattern or a nice shape. So I have some of these, but I tend to throw out a lot of them. So we'll put them in the B category because some of them are nice, but you don't need as many as you get. And this came from a child's workbook. I think that this could occasionally be used as a page in a journal, but if it's been written in, it's, you know, not as useful for somebody's own junk journaling. I don't think I could use tons of sheets of this, so not as versatile as a Sudoku. And it tends to be like I get a whole workbook and I don't want to have like 500 pages of like 5th grade math, you know? So I think I'll put this in the C tier. Fun to have some of it, but my tendency is when I get a workbook that's been used, I'll take out like a dozen pages and then recycle the rest. This I cut off of a playing card. I think playing cards are really fun to use. I like I just recently went out of my way to acquire a couple packs of these, and I don't know if they're as common. I mean, I would say that if you lose a card, now you can't play games with that deck anymore. So now you've got 51 cards you could play with, right? So it's kind of like the jigsaw puzzle, and it's kind of like the Monopoly game. I find that these don't come by so often because it's only one subset of all the games that you could have. And there's no need to have like 20 different kinds of cards. And if you did, you're probably doing it to collect them. Wouldn't want to be cutting into them. So somewhere between here and here, I think I'll put them in the B category because I love them, but don't get as many as I like to use. This is some packaging from a Tim Holtz stencil. It's kind of similar to this, but you know, they tend to have a better background that you could use. I don't know, it's not too dissimilar. I think these two are pretty close to each other in usefulness. You still have to cover the parts that you don't want to use or use for advertising. So A, B, something like that. This is a piece from a receipt. If I'm not using the receipt to be the topic of junk journaling or like as a specific ephemera as part of my journal entry, I don't find receipts to be super valuable. They tend to be thin. You tend to want to cover stuff up because it's not particularly exciting to know what people bought at Costco. And a lot of these have coatings that are not particularly good for you. Probably won't kill you, but aren't great. So, you know, carbon copy paper and thermal paper aren't you know, really that appealing to me. So I will put this in the D tier. I have a lot of it. I might use some of it, but most of it I have no use for. All right, so this is an Amazon mailer when they were doing these bubble mailers. I know that some people really enjoyed the squish factor and the sound that came out of crinkling these mailers, and a lot of people have used these as the covers for their journals. I personally don't like it at all. It's plasticky. I don't like the feel. I don't like the sound. So for me, I have very little use for this. So I'm just going to shove this down in F tier and forget about it. I'm sure that the people who are using these are really enjoying them, and I have no use for them. This is from a piece of mailer, so, you know, advertising on cardstock. This cardstock could be pretty high quality stuff. The only issue here is you tend to have to cover up the whole thing. I do use a lot of it, and I also get a lot of it. So there is no way I can use up the amount of supply I get. So I'm going to put that in the C tier as not particularly, you know, it's great to have some of it, but don't need to keep everything. And here, this is file folder. I would say that file folder is way more versatile than other kinds of cardstock that are of, you know, similar weight, because they tend to come in colors that are useful for us in junk journaling. Don't have to necessarily cover up part or all of it because of the background on it. Very versatile. And so I'm going to put this in the S tier. No reason to waste file folders. They're just really great materials for junk journaling. And then I've got this one bookmark, you know, kind of similar to this and this. I'm going to put this in the B tier. I guess we need to get a little bit of cardstock in each of these categories. I think it's pretty, they could be fun. They could be pretty on their own. You know, some of these could just be put in as a bookmark, or they could be lightly decorated, or they could be fully covered. Lots of versatile options for that, so I'm going to leave this in the B tier. So here's my ranking. I've got only two things in the F tier. The toilet paper roll and the Amazon bubble mailer. And then I got a couple things in the S tier, and I'm sure that everybody has their own favorites and different supplies and suppliers for your household. So, you know, if I've got paper game pieces, if I got map, I will be saving and file paper. these are all things that I'm going to pick up and keep because they're versatile and useful to me. And then the calendars are deliberate purchases. I am reusing something that would be recycled, but I'm also, doubling the benefit by getting something that I'm going to enjoy and then reusing it so that I can keep enjoying it. So that's my S tier. Got lots of things in the middle tiers here, and I am really interested to know if other people have strong different opinions about the rankings. Please tell me in the comments I've totally messed this up, if you think I've completely mischaracterized the value of something, or if there's other materials that should be on this list that I haven't added. I would love to know. Please leave me a comment, and hope that this is useful, because this helps me think about what supplies I really value. And so if I have a lot of this taking up a whole drawer of space, Anna, why are you doing that? Why would I fill up a whole, container of this when I could be filling up on bookmarks or more maps or something else? I can be making room for higher value materials when I only need a couple of these. So this is just a different way to think about it, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.